Hey y'all, it's Joanna Leaves and welcome back to my channel. Happy New Year and welcome to my Planty goals for 2026. All right, so obviously it's the new year and you're probably going to be seeing a bunch of posts about new year, new me and a lot of goal setting, but I actually do want to use this year to be intentional about achieving both Planty goals and also personal goals. I didn't set a ton of personal goals this year, thank goodness. I only set a few that are gonna just build upon the person that I'm, becoming. But I wanted to share and document my Planty goals because even though this is a hobby and there's no like business to this, I still want to be a little bit intentional about how I approach things in life. So that kind of brings us into goal number one, intentionality. Okay. I want to be more intentional both in my plant collection and then like in my life. I would like to be intentional in most of the things that I do. So when it comes to plants, I have three things that kind of fall under my intentionality. So one is to shop less and then more intentionally. I will be honest, there will be a shopping video coming soon, but spoiler alert, I got a gift card. So what I'm gonna do? They already gave the money. They put the money. They already gave the people the money. So I might as well get the things in return. But I'm trying to be intentional about that, which is why I haven't used it yet. So when I see an inventory update on this site that makes sense and has the plants that I really want, that's when I will, you know what I'm saying, take the little plunge. But for now, we're shopping less and we're shopping more intentionally. So I made those wish list videos and I'm going to refer back to them, but I would like to only buy things from my wish list. And even then, if I'm buying something and there has to be a real reason that I want it. Now I have added other things to like an overall Planty wish list. Specifically, there's a begonia that I really want. It's the Soli Mutata. If y'all watched my plant shopping video, then you would have seen me say that I wanted that one. But all that said, see, I just went on a tangent trying to justify, but I want to be really intentional, right? In terms of what I'm buying, where is it going to go? What is the care that it needs? Because I think in my first year of being at this level of collecting, I definitely just bought things that I liked. And now I kind of want to get to a point where I'm buying things and I know where it's going to go, how I'm going to care for it, whether or not the care requirements fit the conditions that I have, and whether or not the care requirements fit the kind of plant parent that I am. I learned a lot about myself in 2025 plant wise. Honestly, at the start of 2025, you could not have told me that I would have had Anthurium be the second largest plant like species in my collection. You would have never been able to convince me that I would be wanting to hybridize Anthurium in this year. You would never be able to convince me. But hey, man, that's where we are. So the next part about intentionality, because here I am just rambling, is I really want to Marie Kondo, and y'all know I be having notes. Y'all know I be prepared. But I want to Marie Kondo more frequently. When I say that, I really do need to hit the does this spark joy, you know? And with that might come like more intentional walking through of my collection, and not just like going through and make sure everything is good, but like sitting with them, having moments where I'm like, okay, how do we feel about this one? How often do you come and stare at this plant? How often do you pick this plant up and you're like, oh my God, it needs water. Oh my God, it needs water. And does it spark joy or is it something that's just here? And getting a little bit, I'm not even trying to downsize per se. I know I said that that's something that I see people doing. I see people leaning into more this year, but instead of like downsizing, I'm coming out of like that first heavy all plants everywhere phase of plant collecting. So I think because of the phase that I'm in, I want to hone my collection into ones that I actually care about. But yeah, I really do just want to make sure that each of the plants that are in my collection are not bringing me agita, and that they're sparking joy, or that they're here for an intentional reason. The next thing that is under intentionality is like the placement of my plants. So if I move, you can see, probably you wouldn't notice, but maybe you would. I removed a bunch of plants from the top of my dresser here. So now, I had a lot of Hoyas, and let me count how many are there now. Okay, I had a ton of Hoyas on my dresser, and I'm now down to about 6 of them on my dresser, which feels better. Like when I'm looking at it, it feels better. I think when I was first getting into Hoyas, plants, etc., I was having like a lot, I was getting a lot of them, and I was kind of falling into that aesthetic of just like, like, okay, let's be honest. I feel like people will be saying it's a jungle aesthetic, but really, it's kind of cluttery. Do you know what I'm saying? It's giving cluttered mess. And at some point, I had to like really hold my own hand and say, "Baby girl, are we are we okay?" You know what I'm saying? I wanted to reduce the visual clutter. I mentioned on a live that I felt like my dresser was also like causing, like, was a source of a huge amount of visual clutter, because also while there were a lot of plants there, and I do have, like, for example, another area that's pretty bushy, but the aesthetic, it looks good. Like, it looks, even though it's like cluttered or there's a lot of leaves, it kind of looks intentional, right? And it was. So my begonia area is pretty like full, but there aren't as many plants there, and they are intentionally placed to complement each other and bring that aesthetic together. Whereas my Hoyas weren't necessarily doing that. I just had a lot of Hoyas shoved onto my dresser as possible, and then I had like different tiers to try to elevate some. So I moved quite the few off the dresser. I moved some things around. I was going to do that on a live, but your girl got sick, and I just needed to rest. You know what I'm saying? It's January 4th at the time of me recording this, and I'm still a little, you know. I had to recoup and recover. But that said, I really do want to be intentional. So not just with like my dresser, but everywhere. I want the plants to be placed intentionally, both for their care needs and then for the visual appeal. I would like to not just look at and see like tons of clutter. So I want to grow some anthurium to flowering size. I have a lot of little itty bitty babies. I do have some bigger babies, but I have a lot of itty bitty babies. Okay, I love the crystallinum is looking so good behind me right now, but I have, I think most of my anthurium obviously are not flowering. So I decided to select 5 of them that I would really, really love to invest the time, energy, and upsizing to, because I know that I don't have the space to get every anthurium I own into like a bucket. People are growing anthuriums in 5-gallon buckets. Do you know what I'm trying to say? I don't have the capacity to do that for most of my anthurium, but I would love to grow the following 5 to flowering size specifically, so that I can, in 2027, or if I grow them to flowering size before the end of the year, I can start experimenting with them. So the first one is a Carla Blackie. I have 2 Carlas, and I have plans for my Carlas. One of them I'm going to leave inside of my um, cabinet, my anthurium cabinet. And then the other one, once it gets a robust enough root system, I am going to try it out in ambient, and I'm likely going to transition it when spring comes around. I'm not going to do it in the wintertime. I just feel like, no. I'm going to do that when the spring comes around so that it can develop. I believe in it, but I would love to kind of see the differences. And then the one in the cabinet is going to be the one that I'm investing in, like, it say pretty and etc. And hopefully getting to flowering size so that I can utilize its pollen and or make it a mom. But I would prefer for the one in ambient to be the mom, because it's probably going to be the one that doesn't look as good. But I do know that when you're pollinating anthurium, sometimes they can get a little crusty looking. I would prefer to use the one in ambient. I don't think that it's going to be weaker per se. It's just not going to, it'll already have holes in the leaf, if that makes sense. In my opinion, it might be the one that already looks a little bit, you know what I'm saying. So I want to grow Carla to flowering size because I love Carla hybrids, and it would be fantastic to create my own. The next one is my seed grown Fort Sherman. I would love to grow that to flowering size. I think from all the research I've seen, paps have like a 4 to 6-ish month like period for like seedlings, etc. But I love a pap. I love a pap. I love them. They're so good, and I would love to maybe self it, right, and see what we get from that, because I don't even know, like, from when I'm looking at mine, my own seed grown one, I'm not sure that it's like completely like, you know, I'm not sure, but I'd love to see what the outcome would be from that. And also I want to diversify the portfolio of plants that I have flowering, because currently the ones that I have flowering, I have my Magno ID, my Forgetti Eye hybrid, Um, and then I have a Pat by Carla that is also flowering. It would be nice for me to have just a Pat and just a Carla. And then the next one that I would love to get to flowering size is I have a Carla Cero hybrid. Let me just insert a picture here of what she looks like. I would love to grow her to flowering size. I don't even know if I do anything with her, but I just want to see how large she gets. I would love to know, like, what is the size that you need to get to do that. I do predict that in the next 2 leaves, she might reach like caterpillar size. So that will be fantastic. Okay, the next one I want to get to flowering size is one of my first anthurium, and it's my crystal pat. I would love for this plant to get nice, large, and for me to fully know what the vibe is. This plant has looked different at every stage. There was a leaf that was one of the smaller leaves was like a deep, like dark green, and now the newer leaf has significantly more like veination. It's putting out another leaf right now, so I can't wait to see where it gets to. But I would love for this plant to get to flowering size just so I can have like a better understanding of what it's going to look like. And I would potentially love to cross something like this with like the Fort Sherman or something like that, just to kind of like really double down on like the PAP genes. Okay. And then finally, another Carla hybrid. Are we shocked? No. So I think it's an AOS BVEP by Carla QP. I would love for this plant, love, for this plant to hit flowering size. This is gonna sound wild because I love this plant, I adore it, but I would love to bring this plant into ambient. So the reason I want it to hit flowering size is because in my hopes and dreams, when it gets large enough, it will hopefully put off an offset, and I can preserve that offset and let it grow, patiently and quietly in my cabinet. And I'd love to, or like take a cutting. I would just love to have a piece of this in ambient and see how it does. It is beautiful. I can see it from here because I can see my cabinet. It is just, I love it. And I would love to be able to see it like get very, very big. And I do know that for most of these that I mentioned, getting them to flowering size is going to require me investing in them coming out of the cabinet. So this entire goal is very like spring oriented, but it means that I have to do my best to care for them in the cabinet now, and then be more intentional about where I'm planning to place them. So that might look like either downsizing or reorganizing, etc. But we'll get there. So the third goal that I have for myself is to experiment more with no drainage. So I feel like I've mentioned this on this channel before, but when I first got my first snake plant, I repotted it into a ceramic pot with no hole in the bottom. I promise y'all, I was watering my plant and not draining off the water at the bottom. I was doing that before I knew any better. I had a bunch of plants potted directly into pots with no hole, no water coming out, nada. Okay? I didn't know better. However, my ZZ plant did fine. Snake plant did fine. I feel like I might have mentioned when I put my snake plant into drainage is when my snake plant went downhill, and it like just it never recovered. And a part of that, when I first had my snake plant, it was right up on the window. I was watering it like every 2 weeks just because that's the range. I know people say, oh, you're not supposed to I was watering it every 2 weeks. Yes. And I, you know what I'm saying? Like that was really it. It was getting a lot of light and it was getting more water than people were saying to give it. Then when I started getting into plant YouTube and plants more and like looking things up, everybody named Mama was telling me, up until I found Millennial Plant Dad, okay? But everybody named Mama was telling me, oh, with the snake plant, water less is more, don't need light, this, that, and the third. And I think all of that brought my plant downhill. And I realized like your ZZ plant did the best when it was in no drainage. And the minute I potted it into a drainage situation is when it also both of those went downhill the minute I started listening to internet advice. So all that said, I want to go back to my roots. And because I like the aesthetics of like glass vessels and also the idea of potentially growing in like stuff like leca or whatever, I would like to experiment with no drainage. So I think I absolutely am going to do that. I think I absolutely am going to do that. I am probably going to try to experiment with no drainage when it comes to more moisture loving plants at first, just to like see how it goes. So I mentioned that freaking dragon's breath. I might try to use that since I don't have the huge, like, largest investment in the plant. I might put that one into no drainage and see how she does with like a semi-hydro setup. You know what I mean? See how that does. But I would love to do that because I feel like the aesthetics are nice. And then I also feel like conservation wise, you probably use way less water doing the no drainage thing than if you don't. And way less fertilizer, way less everything. Because personally, I don't like to share the water. Like, I know people save the water, the runoff, and they use it for other plants. I don't do that because I don't like pests, and stuff like root mealies can get passed on real easy through stuff like that. So I don't do it. I understand that y'all be bottom watering and whatnot. I don't I can't be doing that because I have too many plants and I am too afraid of bugs. But anywho, that's what I want to do. Experiment with no drainage. The next thing I want to do, this one is the only specific Hoya goal that I'm going to give, because I am going to actually share my Hoya specific goals in another video. But I just want to grow one singular leaf on the Hoya peninsularis. If I do not grow one leaf within this year, I'm going to throw it out. And transparently, if I do not grow a leaf by the summer, she's out of here. And I'm going to do things differently. I am planning to put it in, I'm gonna put it in the conditions that it needs. I'm gonna put it in the conditions that it needs. I am. But if it doesn't grow a leaf, it's gotta go. And I would love to grow a leaf on it because it looks nice. It's so visually interesting. It's different, in my opinion. I feel like I shared that even in my video about like prehistoric-y looking Hoyas. I definitely said that the texture is real unique. But I can't get not one leaf on the thing. Not one. So I am going to set that as one of my goals. Number 5, I guess this goal also connects to goal 2, which is to grow some anthurium to flowering size. I would like to create my first hybrid anthurium. I already have 3 anthurium that are at flowering size. So in my opinion, that's very doable for me right now. Like, I just look back at my Forgetti Eye hybrid, and I know that I want to put the pollen of my Forgetti Eye hybrid on the Pat by Carla. So I'd love to see what that kind of produces. I am going to likely save the pollen that's on the inflow that I have right now. Yeah, I'm gonna save the pollen on the plant that I have right now, and then I'm gonna try to put it on the Pat by Carla. I'd also love to do something with the Magno ID. Not sure what I would do. Maybe I would self it. We'll see, because I have the 2 like different sets. So if the smaller one also starts flowering, because the larger one is flowering, then boom. And a lot of this goal is set less around like, oh my God, I want to become a huge anthurium hybridizer, and more of like, I would like to see if I could do it. Seems like fun. And then I would just love to kind of see what I could create in my own home. And if in my own home, I could produce an anthurium that is aesthetically pleasing to me. And maybe I will hate the experience. We don't know, but I would love to try. You don't know until you try. So I would love to try, just to say that I did it at least one time. And if I enjoy it, I'll keep doing it. But just the idea of being able to do that seems so cool, so exciting. It kind of speaks to the inner science girl within me, you know what I mean? Because I realize this, y'all don't even know this, but I initially went to undergrad studying biology, okay? Yeah, I was initially, come on, get with your girl. I know a little something, a little one too. Anywho, I would love to grow a 10-inch leaf on my Adansonii double windows. The journey with this plant, I'm gonna put a picture, boom, double windows. The journey with this plant, she was real small. She struggled. I kept getting smaller and smaller leaf. I had to repot it. I had to chop it. I had to prop it. I had to spider bites. It was, oh, child, it was going through it. And finally, getting it on a pole. This is one of the plants that I put it on a pole, as people said, and this is the only one, because the other Adansonia that I had, I did end up getting rid of it to make space for plants. But the other Adansonia, I was growing large leaves. It was doing fine. But this one, the leaves were getting progressively smaller. It was not trailing nicely. And once I put it on a pole, it started putting out consistent leaves. Like, I think I'm getting a new leaf literally every 2 or 3 weeks. A new leaf is fully coming out. Like by the time the new leaf unfurls and is unraveled, another new leaf is coming. It's reached the top of the pole, so I'm going to extend it. I am going to extend it on that same width, so a nice skinny pole, because I even think about it and I'm like, you know what? I think it doesn't make sense for me to have much larger poles. I know that I probably should go to like the D-shaped backs, but we'll try. We'll try that in the future, but I want to be able to have a leaf that is of size. So a 10-inch leaf seems like 10-inch in length. I don't know what that means in width, but I just want a leaf like not even the full size of my, like chin to eyebrow. I'm being extra, but just like 10 inches, maybe 12. I would love for a sizable leaf that doesn't look like the size of the leaves that you would get if you bought an Adansonii in the store, but that looks like it's been climbing. I would love a little size on my thing. That's the only moss pole goal I got. If that means I got to get rid of the other two moss poles, so be it, because I really want this one to size up. I'm invested because the plant has been through a journey and is now at a place where it sparked joy when I first got it. I was so excited to see it. And now it sparks an incredible amount of joy in my heart and soul. I love the plant. Okay. Goal number 7 is to get into carnivorous plants. So I want to do that because I want to build a part of my hobby that me and my little baby, my son, can get into together. So I would love to build a pingdom. I would love to buy a Nepenthes. I'm not sure. Actually, even when I say that buy a Nepenthes, I think the pingdom thing for sure. I want to know what y'all's experiences are with Nepenthes, specifically if you live in the Northeast, okay? I want to know if it's worth, oh, girl, not almost dropped the book. I want to know if it's worth it for me to buy one, if it like will thrive, like what's the situation? And I would love to get a handle on Droseras. My kid loves sundews. We have one sundew right now. And I don't know what we're doing. We don't know what we're doing. We're trying. So I would love to get into carnivorous plants more, with pingdoms and pings and, just pinguicula in general. I think they're cool. And I love the aesthetic of like those glass bowls with the pings all up in them. And then 2, getting into the Droseras and potentially a Nepenthes or other carnivorous plants if y'all know them. I don't want a fly trap because the idea of and this is the other thing. Pings, it works for me because there's always a little gnat. You know what I mean? Even if there's none, there's probably one. I don't know how to explain. Like, y'all be all right. But in my head, like a Nepenthes, you might have to catch a fly or like a fly trap. I don't. Help me. Tell me more. Where should I go? Lead me somewhere, okay? And then finally, this one is not indoor plant related, is outdoor plant related. I would absolutely love to grow enough to reap 3 different harvests from my raised beds outside. So I have a whole vision in my head. I have 2 raised beds. I would love to maximize my growing. So I want to be able to literally attach, like I've seen people have like these metal trellises that they attach from one side of a raised bed to another side or something like that, so over the top of it, because I'd love for plants that run on top, like either cucumbers or squash. Those are the only 2 running ones that I'd want, because cucumbers, I can preserve them, make pickles, etc. And then I also like them, and then squash, I like them. So I want to map out my garden. I'm thinking about, if I did not know, wait. So in that, I want to map out my garden. I am literally determined to have a map and a plan of my garden done, dusted by the second week of March. I know that might be a little late, but I'm hoping that it's actually done by the first week, because I want to plant seeds. I'm gonna be getting all the stuff. Shout out to my homies from the live, because I am going to actually be on top of like planting instead of buying up plants, because I feel like I spent so much money last year getting starter plants and seeds cost way less. So I want to start up my peppers and stuff in advance, but I also want to map out what my raised bed can do and how to maximize the space there. I also really want to get into pickling and stuff like that. So I want to try to grow things that might be helpful for that. So for example, like having dill or different herbs that can be put in there. I also want to experiment with making my own like crushed pepper or like ground up pepper. I'm just scared because I've seen people say that they did that in their house and everything was painful. So I might need to get an actual pepper grinder or something like that. But those are things I'm thinking of. I guess like on a personal front, I would love to be outside more in the spring, summer, fall. I want to read one book a month. If y'all finna be reading with me, join. I previously was in school. I've been in school for most of my life. So I've been in 2 master's programs, a bachelor's programs, high school. I've been in school for most of my life. I'm 28. I've been in school forever. And this last year, I'm saying this last year, I graduated from school. This is so like time, the construct of time is throwing me off. I graduated in May. So there's that. But with me not being in school for the last like 6 months, I found that I haven't been reading at that same frequency that I used to read at. And I don't want to lose that because knowledge is power, my people. Knowledge is power, and reading can also be fun and freeing. So I'm hoping to read one book a month. I don't want to lock myself into categories on that front. I would just like to pick up one book and finish it per month. That's all I'll say on that. And then I do want to move my body more. Now, I'm being intentional about saying move my body because I don't want to become a gym bro. I'm never going to endorse that. That's not going to be me ever again in my life. There was a point where that was me. That's never going to be me ever again in my life. For my mental well-being, that won't be me. But I would love to move my body more. As a fun fact, there's a Peloton in my house. No, I'm not wealthy. And no, got the Peloton for free. That's the come up right there. That's the come up, okay? And I would love to get on the Peloton like 2-3 times a week. I feel like that's cool. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's doable. So I would love to do that. And I feel like if I'm more intentional with my life, I can get to a point where I'm doing all of these things that I'd like to do and not feeling overwhelmed. I mean, I do have 2 kids, so I need to be easy on me, but I'd like to be more intentional. With that being said, let me know what y'all's Planty and personal goals are for this year. Hopefully we achieve them. I will circle back at the end of this year, which we've got a long ways. We just got here. I will circle back just to see how I did with these goals. And that said, I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye.